Chapter 3 The Plan. Hugo had helped Isabel hobble out of their bedroom, and now they sat shaking at the kitchen table. He got some ice for her foot, and the two of them remained silent, trying to nurse their wounds. Eventually, Isabel's godmother came out of the bedroom. Are those really Papa George's drawings? Why did I ever know he was an artist? Why, Isabel, just tell me how your foot feels. It hurts. And your hand, Hugo? He shrugged. My house had suddenly turned into a hospital ward. The old woman shook her head and tried to laugh, but she sat down at the table with them and began to cry. What's going on? Asked Isabel. Why were those drawings hidden in the armoire? Why did Papa George's get so upset when he saw them? Can't you see the damage that's already been done, Isabel? Papa George's is developing a fever. Who knows how long it's going to last? There's nothing more to say. You stole my key. You broke into my armoire. You're as bad as this thief here. I don't want you to see each other again. Do you hear me? You can stay here till the morning, Hugo. I'll call a doctor to look at you and Isabel and George's, and then I want you gone. She ripped up some strips of fabric and made makeshift bandages for Hugo's hand and Isabel's foot. She wrapped them as tightly as she could. I'm sorry, Mama Jean. Please don't be mad. We just wanted to... Hush, it's bedtime. Hugo, there's a couch. Come. Isabel, I'll help you to your room. But Hugo didn't sleep on the couch. A plan formed in his mind, and as soon as Isabel and her godmother had left the room and gone to sleep, he tiptoed over to the coat hooks by the door. The old man's coat was hanging there. Hugo fished in his pockets. He heard a jangling sound and found what he was looking for. He took the ring of keys, left the house, and walked back to the train station in the dark. Hugo headed straight for the shuttered toy booth. He made sure no one was around, and then he tried all the keys on the key ring until he found the one that opened the booth. He stepped inside and began going through the boxes, opening drawers and flipping through papers the old man kept behind there. But there were no clues. Hugo had been hoping that perhaps there might be some scraps of paper to help him figure out what it was the old woman was keeping secret. Something in the booth he had never noticed before. Hugo did find one curious item, though wrapped in a piece of fabric, at the very back of a drawer. So, in the very back of the drawer, there's the fabric around it, and here's the wind-up mouse that Hugo fixed inside the fabric that he just opened. Hugo didn't know why the old man had kept the blue mouse. He had always assumed the toy had been sold a long time ago. Hugo liked that he had kept it, though. He found himself smiling as he turned the blue mouse over in his hand. Hugo thought about the little mechanical parts inside the mouse, as well as the other toys that he had stolen and used to fix the automaton. He had never really stopped to consider why the pieces from the old man toys fit so well into the mechanical man. Hugo wrapped up the mouse and returned it to the drawer. As he turned to leave, he saw one of Isabel's books tucked in a corner of the booth that gave him an idea. Hugo returned to his room and was relieved to see the mechanical man still sitting in the center of the floor. He managed to drag it back to its hiding place, grimacing in pain the whole time. He wrapped it up once again in the old piece of fabric and covered the hiding place with his buckets of tools. And his heart pounded. He hadn't realized until this moment the trouble he was in. It was his right hand that had been injured, and there was no way he could take proper care of the clocks without it. Soon they will begin breaking down, and the station inspector will investigate, and it will be all over. Hugo lay down on his bed and rested his bandaged hand on his chest. Images flashed across his mind. So here's his hand holding a clock. So this is one of the pictures he was imagining, and that's his father, that's Hugo's father, working on a clock. That's Hugo, and then that's someone drawing. And then here's another picture of his mind thinking of this girl he still saw in that time when Hugo was running in the snow. And there's still clocks. There's a picture of a hand going to grab something. Hugo saw the white, crooked fingers of the station inspector reaching for him. They were turned into long, ragged claws and grabbed him violently by the arm. Hugo woke up screaming. He hadn't even realized he had fallen asleep. Morning finally came, and Hugo gathered up his tools and tried to do his morning rounds. Eyes closed, head tilted to the side. He listened to the clocks, but without the use of both hands, he could barely wind them. And so he oiled and observed as much as possible and anxiously compared the clocks with his railroad watch. Time was running out. As soon as he saw Monsieur Labassy open his shop, Hugo ran over. The bell above the door jangled as he entered. Monsieur Labassy was still removing his coat when he turned and saw Hugo. "You're Isabel's friend, aren't you? What happened to your hand?" Hugo moved his hand behind his back. "I need to ask you a question, sir. I need to find out information about something. Do you have books about the movies?" "I might." "What about the very first movies?" "My father saw a movie where he was little that he always remembered. It had a rocket going into the eye of the man in the moon." Hugo thought the movie would be a good place to begin his search for clues. "That sounds intriguing," Monsieur Labassy said as he straightened his tie and stood up. "Come, young man." Hugo followed him to the shelf and waited while he looked through the books. He pulled out several volumes, glanced in the tables of contents, then closed the books and put them back. No, nothing about very early movies. I'm sorry." Hugo thanked him and headed out the door. Where could he turn next? The bookstore had been his big inspiration. "You might have more luck at the Film Academy library," said Monsieur Labassy. Hugo spun around. "Where's that?" Monsieur Labassy gave Hugo directions, and Hugo thanked him and ran out of the shop. If you like this video, please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.